Well, hello there. Are you having a nice summer? I hope you are. I am, for sure. And you know what day it is? Yeah? It's a yarn dyeing day. Today I'm going to be dyeing 400 gram skeins of superwash merino, fingering weight. And I've simply bought 8 skeins of drops baby merino, which is 100 gram. And I've tied them 2 and 2 together. They're 50 gram balls of yarn. So that I've made 4 of these 100 gram skeins. So that's what we're doing today. And I'm feeling a little bit nostalgic about where I come from. My island up in northern Norway and the colors that we have there during the summer. So I think I'm going to go for a dark lush green and some purpley clover, purpley colors, and a little bit of white maybe. Something like that. That's the inspiration this week. But first, time to soak the yarn. So, like I said, time to soak the yarn. First things first, I got my large soaking tub since I am going to be soaking and dyeing 400 gram skeins, and I've already prepped them by putting on my reusable zip ties, one on each skein tank. We got some citric acid. I'm just going to grab like a tablespoon. I double up on this. I do some in the soaking tub, some in the dye pan, but you really only need to do it once. But, you know, I like to make sure. I've got 2 measuring cups with 2 liters of cold water in each. I'm adding that in there. It's the first one. And the second one, total of 4 liters of cold water. And we are grabbing our skeins. And I'm just grabbing them by the zip ties, like so. And we are adding them into the tub. I'll just help the process along the way by pushing the yarn down to make sure that it gets properly soaked so that everything gets wet all through. We do not want to have any dry patches. So I'm pushing it down into the mixture of water and citric acid. And then we're going to let it sit for at least half an hour to make sure everything is soaked. And we can start the yarn dyeing project of the day. There we go. So I'm going to let it sit for at least half an hour, maybe a little longer, and then we'll get ready to dye. Time to dye. I have set up my dye tray here. We got the soaking yarn here in a large tub. I will be dyeing in the pan over there. And like I said, I set up my dye tray. I have an old empty yogurt container with just clear cold water in and a spoon that I can use to poke the yarn. Got my mask to protect my airways, very, very important. Very fine powder, you don't want to inhale that. I've got some gloves in case I need that. We got our dyes. We're going to use 2 colors today. I get back to those. Couple of teaspoons used only for dyes. Do not use your kitchen utensils. My little milk frother thingy that I use to dissolve the dyes in the water. And today I'm going to mix up 2 dye stocks. We are going to use Jacquard acid dyes in the color Spruce and same brand in the color Purple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the dye powder into one of the mixing measuring cups, And I've added about 400 milliliters of water. It's just easier to dissolve the dye when there's not a lot of water. So I'll be adding the dye using the little whisker to dissolve all the dye powder, and then I will add up to the top of the measuring cup, which is 2 liters. So I will have 2 liters of one color and 2 liters of the other one. And of course we do have the acid dye, citric acid here that we are going to add in a little bit of in the dye pan. So first of all, I am going to transfer the yarn to the dye pan. I'm going to grab about a tablespoon of citric acid and just add that to the dye pan, squeeze out some excess water from the yarn, and I'll place that in the pan. So let's start by doing that first. All right, adding in some citric acid and just grabbing the skeins. I'll just squeeze out the water a little bit, mostly to not make a mess. And I will be twisting them just a little bit, just a couple of times from each side, just to make sure that I get dye all around it. And we'll do the second one. Twist it just a little bit, both ends, and add it to the dye pan. I'm going to do the same with the last two, and we'll set up for dyeing. It is time to mix the dye. First of all, protection. Put on your mask to protect your airways, so you don't accidentally inhale some of the powder. And I think I'm going to start with the green one first. That's what that looks like. It looks almost black. And I'm going to go for, I don't know, let's say, that much, about 1/3 of a teaspoon. We're adding that in there. And I'll be using the whisk to dissolve it. This color dissolves really quite easily. Some dyes need a little bit more work, but these are quite quick. There we go. I'm going to rinse the whisk, and I will be adding more water to the 2 liter mark. Before we do that, I am going to also mix the purple. What that looks like, the purple dye. So I think I'm going to go for about the same, about 1/3 of a teaspoon. And I'm mixing that. It's also very dark, very deep purple. There we go. Okay, I will be adding water to the dye stalks to dilute them a little bit, and we can get dyeing. Time to start dyeing. Let's turn on the fan first. I have added more water to both the dye stalks, so I'm just going to start pouring that in. There's no particular pattern to this. I'm just making waves, I guess. Like so. I got a little bit of green left, but I'm going to go in with the purple first, and I'm going to turn on the stove as well so that we start heating the yarn. I'm hoping to save a little bit of the white as well, to have that show up. Let's see if I can do this left-handed. I want a little bit more on this end. Oh, spilled some. There we go. Luckily it's easy to clean up, at least if you don't leave it sitting. Okay. Let's add in a little more purple. Something like that, and a little more green. I'm just trying to pour straight down into the yarn. Something like that. And now we are just going to heat it up. I don't know if you can see it on camera, it's starting to heat up a little bit already over here. So I'm going to let it sit for a while and just move the pan around a little to make sure all the water gets heated, so that we set the dye properly. Dye is starting to exhaust really nicely. I don't know if you can see it on camera what we got. You can see the bottom of the pan here. It's not a lot of color left. I'm actually, since I do have some purple dye stock left, I'm going to just add that in, because why not? We already made it, so let's just add to it a bit. There we go. And we're just going to continue letting it heat up and exhausting the dye. Most of the dye is exhausted. We got a little bit here on the purple here and there. Not a lot. So I'm going to check if it's warm everywhere, and I don't recommend you use my method. If you do, be very careful. I just put on a pair of gloves and I poke my fingers into the water. to figure out if it's ready or not. And this has heated up everywhere. So, and since it is pretty much exhausted already, I'm just going to turn off the heat and set it aside to cool off, because it will continue to exhaust as long as the water is still warm. And we're letting it cool completely before rinsing it. We don't want to shock the yarn. So make sure you set it aside and let it cool completely before you start rinsing it. So that's the next step. Time to rinse the yarn. And I gotta say, this is looking very promising. So I got my rinsing tub here with cold water and a splash of soak in it. You don't need to use soak, you can use dish soap, shampoo. Whatever works for your hair will work for your yarn. I like this one, and I do have the smaller bottles of soak in the web shop. All the flavors almost and all the fragrances if you want to try those. But again, you do not need those. So let's see what we got here. Oh, interesting. I'm going to squeeze out the water. Try not to make too much of a mess. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to hit the camera. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Let's put it in the rinsing tub. And this has, of course, cooled completely. You don't want to rinse your yarn before it has cooled off entirely after the dyeing process. And the last one. I'm just going to put that aside. I use my small soaking tub to catch the yarn as I rinse it. Alright, let's see. Just grab it by the zip tie. I just dunk it a few times, getting rid of any potential residue. It did, however, exhaust quite a lot. Well, it exhausted completely, which I'm very happy with. I'm squeezing out the water. Don't want to wring the skein. Squeeze it. This is pretty much what I had in mind, what I was envisioning when I wanted to make this color. Let's see if we can find another zip tie. There we go. This is why the zip ties are so handy to have. Makes it so much easier to find and identify the skeins in the rinsing tub. And keeping them apart. Now, normally you don't need to rinse more than once when you're using soak. I do, however, prefer to do it twice, so I'm going to do that. I seem to have been very generous with the soak this time, because there's a lot of foam in this one. Oh well. That's alright. We can splurge every now and then. Looking good. Okay, last one. Let's see if we can identify the zip tie. There it is. And squeezing out the water. There we go. Now I'm going to rinse this once more. I got just a teeny tiny hue of green in the water, not a lot at all. But I'm going to rinse it once more anyway, because I prefer to do that. So I'm going to do that, and then we're going to hang it to dry. Well, there we are. The Clover inspired yarn is done. How do you like that? I'm very pleased. We got the purples and the lighter areas. That's almost turned into the white, and we got the greens. Yeah, this one turned out pretty much as I had planned it. And yeah, I hope you like it. I like it. Yay! Not sure what I'm going to make from this yarn yet, but I'll think of something. Rest assured, I will. Are you going to dye this colorway? Let me know if you are. I'd love to see what you make. I'd love to see what you make, whatever colorway you make, to be honest. So, a happy result. Very pleased. And that's it for this week. I'll see you next time. Bye.
You got me feeling good, right about your side. Lost in